Welcome to another Game 3 deck profile, another top. And this one is second place right here with Claudio at the Gatineau regional. I was hosted by Carta Magica this past weekend. And he's here to show off his great Saiyaman deck. So we got some Saiyaman drip here. Claudio, take it away.
Thanks, Rosas. I'm really excited to show off this deck list. There's a lot of Saiyamans out there, a lot of good players. I just want to showcase my deck list. Definitely the deck helped me out get second place. I was very excited and very proud of getting second place, but we'll just go through the deck list. First, I'm going to go through the core. Obviously, for 8 drops. The 8 drops are key in this deck. You can play them right off the hop. You can play them with Stop You Fiend, giving you the free play. You can play them for 2 if you don't really have many options, KOing a couple of your opponent's cards on board if you're looking for KO options. The deck does have trouble with removal, so sometimes paying the 2 is a good option if you're concerned about what your opponent has on board. Obviously, it gives a control for your opponent to have to work around on their turn. It's auto blanks your opponent's card when it gets played. So 4 of, absolutely a must. We're going to do 4 of the barrier Gohans, and we're going to be doing 4 of the double strike Gohans. Normally what I would be doing is probably locking down the 8 drops behind barrier and the blockers behind barrier. I would really try and prioritize the dual attacker with the double striker. It's a nice earlier play when your opponent's at 3 energy to get 2 double strikes in for free.
Yeah,
It's
that's
really
crazy.
aggressive for
Yeah.
doing, yeah, for doing nothing. You get 2 double strikes in, and you get to rest something off of the dual attacker. But obviously, if you're not seeing the barrier, going with the 8 drop if you have the 8 drop, or just kind of do what you can to get the additional draw off the heroic off your leader, making sure that you're plussing your hand size is a must. Now I have 4 Bulma. I have no 1-drop Videls in this deck. The reason why I did not go with the Videls is it is good value if people are concerned about your Saiyamans getting dealt with. Obviously, a lot of people are teching from their sideboards and expecting Saiyaman to be really strong and popular in this format. But just the way the matchups go, your best option is usually not taking your Saiyaman and putting it on your deck. That's what I found anyways. Do what you like. Videl is a great card. I just find getting Stop You Fiends better. The deck list is kind of tight. I'll explain a little bit more as I go through the list. I'll put Bulma to the side for now to kind of explain why I feel like the Bulma is definitely 100% a 4. I've seen some lists run 3. Obviously, I've seen some lists run with the Videl, but I don't run with the Videl. Bulma is the way I go with that. I run 3 of the dual attacker. Like I said, very, very strong when you run it with the double strike. I only run 3 mainly because sometimes a lot of people are understanding how to deal with the stack. Once the 4-drop comes out with the active main, if you're playing black, they'll warp it. They understand this is the card to take out. It eliminates a lot of plays. So I try not to focus on the 5 drops too much, emphasize on them too much. It's harder to play them because you can only EX evolve them or they cost the 5. So they need to see the 4-drop Gohan and play, whereas the 8-drop you can just pay 2 for it. I only run 2 of the blockers. To me, it was very, very tight. Blocking, I feel like it's not necessarily a huge necessity out of the deck. It's a good option. It's a good option, especially if you play Stop You Fiend on your opponent's turn, or if you're setting up a Stop You Fiend on your opponent's turn to come up with a blocker against a card that gets played. It does KO something in rest mode, so it is a little bit of removal. I think some people might want to play more just to get that additional removal in. Like I said, the deck isn't great at removal, so that is definitely an option. But when you're playing your turns out, a lot of times in this control meta, especially when you're playing against blue, well, my first match was against Daimaku. When you're playing against Daimaku, you really want to be aggressive right away. really try and take out their resources, which are their unisons, and he doesn't really cut it. So only 2 of them. For super combos, I'm running 1 of the Zamasu's Sacred Disbelief and 3 of Krillin's Moments Before Comeback. I know some people run 4 of them. I was even considering running 2 and 1 of the Videls. The Videls aren't that great, but it's searchable with the Bulmas. But I realized this was obviously a lot more value, so I didn't end up doing that. The Zamasu is nice because you also get to control your opponent's board, rest their leader on a swing. You really want to control your opponent as much as you can with this deck, because even though you get a lot of free play, you get a lot of value out of your energy. It's not incredibly aggressive. So this controlling your opponent is probably the best way to go. Just put 1 in. That's what I did. 3 Robotic Riposte goes back to very nice floodgate. Aggressive decks like Red Vegeta, other decks that play a lot of bodies, Panzino as an example, kind of just reduces the amount of aggression they're going to be able to play. I'll show you later my deck list as well. I run my SCR's Gogeta. Obviously, getting more markers is more beneficial. If you're running Gogeta, definitely 3. If you're not running Gogeta, you could go down to 2, but I still think 3 is a sweet spot, especially if you are going to be running removal with the Saiyamans. You get more cards to rest, you get more options to KO with the Saiyaman, and then you can just stop you Fiend into the 5-drop a little bit more. Only running 3 Stop You Fiends. A lot of people said I should run 4. I'm running 3. This is another reason why I left the Bulmas out. The Bulmas are super, super clutch because I only run 3 Stop You Fiends. You're going to get the 1 off of the once per game
leader effect, yeah.
Once per game leader effect. So running 3, you're going to see 1 right off the hop with the Bulmas. To be honest with you, I'm glad I only ran 3. I continuously saw these cards throughout the event. So I actually had 0 problem with Stop You Fiend, so I was very, very happy running 3. You can run 4 if you really, really want to be consistent. If you get a bunch of them in your hand, you can charge them. I even charged these a couple times, I'm not going to lie.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Playing it close.
No, I honestly, I'll Stop You Fiending at least once a turn. It's easy. Setting up the Stop You Fiend for your opponent's turn is, I want to say, a nice thought. It's obviously a very, very good play, but when somebody sees a Gohan just sitting there, they are prepared to see a Stop You Fiend on their turn, so they're going to try and deal with a Gohan on their first play, even if it's something that blanks something. If it's something that has an auto that will trigger on play, they'll get their auto, blank it, they'll KO the Gohan, it's fine. That card did its job, it's blanked, they don't have to worry about Stop You Fiend. Or even if you do, you could just, counterplay it, but then you're potentially wasting a counterplay on a bait out play anyways. So I was seeing them a lot. Bulma was getting them a lot. I run 3. 100% best counter in this deck. Stop laughing. You could pay the 1. You could pay the life. You negate the attack. You're getting the draw. And it rests 2 cards. Rest 2 cards, really good targets for the Gohans again, the Saiyaman 8-drop to be able to KO cards, or the blocker to KO something. This is the key to really help you control how you're going to make your plays. Anytime I saw this, I never charged this. This is key. I never charged this. 3 Nimbus, same reason, just to kind of end my opponent's turn as quickly as it can, just get back to mine, control it. They'll play something, blank it, they'll have to play something else. Just really try and limit my opponents in what they're doing. So 3 Nimbus, very standard, very, very just yellow card. 2 Release from Evil. Originally my list had 3. I feel like Release from Evil is either good really, really early on, if you see it early on, either to prevent your opponent from awakening, if they're foolish enough to swing into you, especially if you have your Unison on board, or just really late when they're swinging with something big and you just want to take care of it right there. Three sounds good, but I was able to do really well with two. The deck list, like I said, is very tight. You kind of want to get the numbers a little bit under 60. 55 was ideal. I was a little greedy. I went to 57 on the total deck list, just because I wanted some cards in there. But you want to be able to see your cards, so the third copy had to make the cut. Same thing with Vegeta Prideful Transformation. You know, I was tempted to run three at first. Great counterplay. You get a blocker out of it. Everybody knows what it does. Very good into running into Gogeta with Gogeta. So, especially when you're blanking, they bait something out for the blank of the A drop. Then they play something a little more serious. If it doesn't have deflect, you know, that's just another play shut down for them. Very, very controlling. I ran only one Majin Buu and Goku. The CRs from BT28 are all great. This one, you get some decent value out of it, but you don't need more than one. That's my opinion. You can have more than one if you want. It gets to rest something. You get a double striker, obviously, if it can stick around. But for the one energy that you'll pay to negate the single attack, I think you have some better value in the deck, or what you can put some better value in the deck. So just a one of one Begrudging Allies. I do have one in my side deck. We'll go through my side deck after. One Begrudging Allies. We have to respect floodgates. And this control meta where everybody's understanding, everybody's trying to control, all colors are trying to control. At least that's my experience with playing in these events. Begrudging is respecting everybody's deck list. It's respecting everybody's player. I think if anybody's not running Begrudging, they're not respecting floodgates. So definitely one at least. Then I have the Power of a Super Saiyan. This actually surprised a few players, being a card from BT13, a little bit older. Not really a lot of value in a lot of people's eyes, but it's a free active battle. It's a free active battle that draws you a card, so it replaces itself, and it gets to rest either a Unison or a battle card. It's great. It's free. Play it. Two Koitsukai. I main board two Koitsukai. Some people think that's greedy, and I agree. I think it is. But like I said, we have to respect floodgates. People are playing battle cards. Blue is playing Protector, is playing Defending Friends. Everybody's got floodgates. Yellow has got the Bardock floodgate. This is just what's coming out. A lot of people run them because they're easy to play. A lot of them are free. Koitsukai really makes them think twice about whether they should take life or whether they should lose cards in hand. It definitely keeps them in check. And running two of them, it's easy. You chuck them out with the Bulma. You get a Stop You Fiend back. You pay the one, and then you just progress with your turn. And then you get to filter some of your cards. So I run two. Mid-range cards. I call these mid-range cards because you saw that I only ran some of the core of the Saiyamans, the 5 drops, and they're not always your best options. I have two of the SS4 Goku versus Nova Shenron. These are great mid-range cards. You get a dual attacker out of them. You get to rest a card out of them. They replace themselves, which helps you go through your deck, shorten your deck, and you get to put on a little bit of aggression for one. The value you get out of the energy you do play allows you to control your opponent more on their turn. So the value you get out of this in Saiyaman when you're arresting things is great. I run two of them. Then we have Frieza Fearsome Transformation. This card, everybody knows this card. It's awesome. Replaces itself with a draw one. Most people run Saiyans. Swing into a Saiyan, rest it, KO it. If it was a Saiyan, obviously it restands. So you got a 25k dual attacker. Two. I use these mainly when I saw a deck that would rely on Saiyans. This is a go-to for me to tech out if Saiyans weren't in it. And I'll go through the deck on what I would tech them out for when we go through the side deck. One Poutine. One Poutine the Dark Sorcerer because resting a lot. A lot of the cards rested my opponent's cards. You have Stop Laughing you can play Poutine on. We have the Super Saiyan 4 Goku. You have the 5-drop dual attack Saiyaman. A lot of restings happening with this deck. Poutine's great. Why not 2? You don't need it. A lot of people are baiting out the cards because of your Saiyaman. Anyways, it's just something else to get into rest mode, potentially use with Gogeta, or potentially to KO with the 8-drop if you pay 2. If somebody's tempted to play Janemba, they can get it off of that with Janemba too. So just 1 Poutine. I don't have a Janemba in this list. 1 Successor Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4. I mainboarded this, but I only played it situationally. It technically could have been a sideboard. I thought it was a good mainboard card. I was kind of tempted for it to be in or out, but I decided in, having that option to double strike, either have the KO options to KO ignoring barrier. We obviously rest a lot, so that's really, really easy. Or if my opponent has a lower count of cards in their hand, just to rip to 2 out of their hand. Everybody knows that this card's good, but just some more control that this deck can bring. Then only 1 Frightful Great Ape. It's got barrier. Everybody knows what this card does. Well, I guess not really. This is a new promo that came out recently. Rest 1 of your cards. It's easy. You can rest Unison. You can rest a Bulma. I rested a Bulma or my Unison typically. Or, yeah, that would pretty much be what I'd do. If not, I would try something else if I really had to. And blank a card. This is really helpful against Black Mask Saiyan. Some people would tech and Black Mask Saiyan to keep you from doing your active main. Some of your other cards, obviously ripping 2 out of your hand for doing something that you need for play, like playing a Gohan out of your drop with your active main. It really hurts. Playing this, just rest the card, blank the Black Mask, and then just keep doing what you're doing. Only 1, because Gohan already does everything. We already have the 8-drops that are already blanking stuff, so you don't really need too much of it. You could put in 2. I was tempted to put in 2. I ultimately only went with 1. Nova Shenron. I have 1 in my main board. This goes without saying. We have the SS4 Goku, so we get so much more extra value by playing this in the deck. We get to KO something regardless of its position, and if we get to KO something, it restands, so it's a dual attacker, 30k, and we get 2 cards off of it. We want to see cards in Saiyaman. Then we have 1 copy of Frieza, Emperor of Universe 7. This is obvious because these 2 are friends. Everybody knows that. A lot of people are potentially upset about this combo. Not the easiest combo, only because it's 2 cards that have to see each other. So it doesn't always happen. I got it off 1 time against Barriar, who came in 4th place. Great player, taught me how to play the game, got me into the game, actually. And it definitely helped me win that matchup. So very, very strong combo. If you're playing Gogeta, obviously Gogeta is very strong on its own. But if somebody is not careful and you're really controlling them, Repose, Stop Laughings, Prideful, Putin, all of these cards, it's going to make Gogeta look very good, and it's going to punish them because of Frieza. So that is a given, and that is the deck, the main deck.
That's awesome. You weren't lying about having a bunch of one-ups, and it makes sense for how you're going through everything there.
Right. And yeah, so when sideboard, it'll make a little bit more sense. So a lot of Saiyaman. Saiyaman is popular in this format. I have 2 Black Masks. Not specifically for Saiyaman, although very likely I will 100% tech these in if I'm in the mirror match. It is good against a lot of other things. It's great against the Masu Mill. You know, Gowasu has to bring out the free play dual name, and it's going to cost them 2 cards. So they have to take care of this, especially if you can get this on turn 1 against the Masu Mill. It really, really hurts them. There's a bunch of other decks that you can do it with too, but 2. You can swap in 1, you could swap in 2. Son Gohan Trusted Allies. You know, tech against green for doing green things. This helped me out a lot against my matchup against Weirdna. Andrew Tan is a fantastic player. He was playing Reboot Cell, and he was ripping cards out of my hand with Father-Son Solidarity, and I was just putting this into the drop, playing it, and replacing itself, so it wasn't hurting me. Obviously, there's other green decks that'll do it too, so I teched in 2 of them. Mutairos, same thing. Green decks, Namek, Ku. Everybody knows that this is a good card. You can tech it in for a lot of other decks. It's just a very all good card to have. I run 2. Chi-Chi Melee Matriarch. This is a must. I actually wanted to run 2 of them. I ultimately ended up going with 1. Blue, if they don't respect this, it hurts them. The blue players that know what this is, they respect it, and they will try to play around it. They will demagic it and not restand their energy, which, whether they're not restanding their energy or they're going to crit their life, it's fine by me. So they have to play around this. This is an absolute must for yellow tech against blue decks. I would potentially even find a way to do 2 of them. Son Goku Forever in Our Memories. A lot of people don't see this one. I think it's an interesting tech card. Decks that play low-cost battle cards that have weird effects. Black's a really good option. You know, Overwhelm 5, Panzino, Overwhelm 5, Overwhelm 4, Overwhelm 3. They can still Overwhelm. They can still play their cards, but their cards aren't doing nothing. And because you run your A-drops, you're fine. You know, you play your 8 drops for free. It does kind of hurt you a little bit with your SS4 Gokus and your Saiyamans, but you can technically tech in a little bit more from your sideboard and play it, or just use those as charges. This isn't going to stick around long. You're going to have to really negate through this to really put pressure on it. And then obviously, if you feel that this is going to go, you could just pop 2 and then just put the floodgate on your opponent on his turn that he can only attack with battle cards once on his turn. So it's basically Bardock the Tenacious at that point. Great tech card. It really hurts your opponent. They have to play around it. There's the second Begrudging Allies. Like I said, we got to respect floodgates. So if I know a deck plays a lot, usually I tech it in against some blue decks. Warp Jita, it's not really going to do anything. This is, if you know a deck runs Oceanus, this is great for Oceanus. So to get you out of that floodgate, they're going to pay 2 and nothing's going to happen, and they're still going to pitch the 1 card out of their hand. Hunt of the Demon God. Everybody knows this one. Counter, free plays. Tech this in against green for Dormant Potential. And I didn't end up seeing it, but I teched it in against U7, against Time Magic, but I didn't end up seeing it that game. An Unexpected Turn. A lot of people don't see this card very often. Most people actually have to read it. I only teched it in 3 times, but the main reason I chose this was to respect anybody playing this. Gogeta, Frieza. This is, in my opinion, the best way to deal with Frieza. I'd rather not deal with another Frieza, knowing what it can do in my arsenal. So I'm respecting the Frieza enough to put in its own tech. Unexpected Turn, it's great. It just doesn't come into play. A little bit of conditions, they have to have some battle cards in play. And then you get to get rid of their low-cost cards. Most people won't be running Frieza, have a bunch of 1-drops in play, but it's still very, very good. This one was a very interesting tech. This is a very fun card. Final Spirit Cannon. 2 energy, rest in energy. You can just rest any of your opponent's cards, but you're going to rest in energy. So if somebody has 1 up and they typically won't have a lot of free negates, or it's going to cost them, I wouldn't tech this against blue, but green and yellow, definitely. If they got that 1 standing, Final Spirit Cannon, and I'm in danger. And that's all it is. They can't really do nothing about it. If they were going to Nimbus you, that's out of the question. They just have to combo out of it and just take it. Like I said, I had the freezes as an option. I have an additional Super Saiyan 4 Goku, an additional Nova Shenron. If Frieza becomes useless, this is my go-to replacement. Get a little bit more mid-game value out of the Goku, which replaces itself, and obviously if I can get that Nova Shenron and EX Evolve out of it, I'll get 2 more swings and 2 cards. Great value. And I know our deck blanks out a lot of skills, but finally we have Sin Shenron, Cold Hearted Dragon. Um, like I said, you do get a lot of value out of this deck. There's some turns that you're not even really spending energy. You can keep 3 up on turn, passing on turn 4. And you can run negates, you have free negates. But at that point, the game gets a little bit more aggressive. People are going to bait out your 8 drops auto. If you're going to Prideful, they know Prideful's in the deck. They're going to bait out the Prideful, but then they're going to play something a little bit nastier. That's when you pay 2 and you play Sin Shenron, and then you blank the skills again. And then they're a little bit more at a loss. So a little bit more control going into the later turns where people tend to try and get a little bit more aggressive. And it's worked for me. And that's the sideboard. And now we have the Z deck. So 2 Gohan Geek Training. Great card. Rest of the card. Play for 1. It's double strike. So you can put a little bit of pressure on. This is a 4-drop Adolescent Gohan. You can stop Fiend on this card. You won't get anything off of it, but you can stop Fiend off of it. So if you want to play a body that plays some aggression, most people are just going to think this card's this card. But Stop Fiend restands the A-drop anyways, or whatever gets played on top of it. So it's going to come out and swing again for 1 for free. Really good option to put some aggression on and potentially rest a card. If you do it with the barrier blocker, this comes out, swings 20k, double strike. When it comes out, it rests the card. Then Stop Fiend, put the blocker on top, and then you just KO the card that you rested. So 2 of those. You don't really need more of that. 2 Videl. This is typically your first play. You want to awaken right away. Great value out of the Videl. Keep in mind, if you're trying to set up a Stop Fiend on your opponent's turn, don't just plus with this. Swing with this. Swing with this. You're going to get the same effect as the active main. You're going to draw 1 and then put 1 on the top. That card's typically dead, especially if you're doing that at the beginning of the game. Sometimes you're not thinking your whole sequence through on the turn. Your opponent's just has a couple energy up. You're just starting your turn. You can potentially go for a draw, replace something that you don't need, and get something in your hand with a swing here. Or you could set up a Stop Fiend if you really want to at this. And then at the end of your turn, active main with the Videl, set up a Stop Fiend. This is better for the Videl's better for setting up the Stop Fiend on your opponent's turn. I run 2. Most people ignore her. A lot of people don't see a lot of value in her. I think I only had 1 person swinging at my Unison, but I think it's only because they didn't want to take my life down. 2. You don't need more than 2. SS Son Goku Protect the Father 1. It's a free card to rest something. It is also a specified cost of 1 Unison. That costs 1. So you can actually awaken off this card if you really wanted to. I just think it is good because it has the potential to KO cards. So if you need a little bit more removal in the deck and maybe somebody is taking out your Videl, like I stated, you can set up Stop Fiend with this card. So maybe you feel that you don't need to set up Stop Fiend on your opponent. You can switch in for 1 to the Protect the Father, rest, or start KOing stuff if you want some additional removal. If something's blanked and now you just want to take care of it easily, this is a good option. I have Tapion in here, Confrontation. If you want to play a little bit more aggressive, Tapion is a really good option. Like I said, because of the value you get out of the deck, you don't usually spend your energy to be aggressive, Tapion is a good option to be aggressive with. Obviously, you can keep something rested down, keep it locked down if it's problematic, get swings. You can even lock down your opponent's board and have a better setup into Gogeta if you're playing Gogeta, or just keep cards rested to KO them for whatever reason with either Great Saiyaman 8 drops, or however you're going to do it. Same thing with the Son Goku Kaioken Unleashed. Everybody knows this is a good card. Potential board wipe, especially if you're blanking tons of cards. Ends up being a 25k double strike if you end up paying the resources for it. Other than that, great card. SSB Vegeta Surmounting the Impossible. This card actually allowed me to beat Barrier. Like I said, he's a friend of mine. He knows what I'm playing. We have played together before numerous times. He kept me at 4 life. I just surmounting. I brought myself down. If you want some extra cards, just to kind of, if your hand is dead, great card overall, just to kind of get some filter in, just for one. Like I said, the deck gets a lot of value. You don't have to worry about paying 1 and not seeing the maximum value that you would normally need to see out of a yellow deck. Then I have 20 times Kaioken Kamehameha Mighty Blast. Typical yellow Z deck cards, very, very good. And Oolong if something's big on the board and I just want to swing something big and either have it go through or make them lose cards in their hand if they're not having the energy standing. You know, maybe I final Spirit Cannon, they're tapped out, and then they have something big on board. I can just copy it if I don't have the swing and make them reduce their hand or make them take their life. And that is the deck profile I have for the Great Saiyaman.
Damn. Well, I was surprised you had pretty much, like, you were talking about all these one-ofs, and even with your Z deck, all specifically catered to what you thought you'd be seeing, and definitely worked out for you. Before we close out, I did want to ask, out of all the decks you faced at the regional, what deck do you think gave you the hardest time?
Even though I lost to Sublet in U7, I didn't feel like the matchup was, that back and forth. The hardest matchup, in my opinion, was, I'm gonna say Cell Reboot. Red Vegeta, and potentially Red Vegeta. Warp Vegeta is very, very strong, and Beer is an amazing pilot. So Warp Vegeta, I got lucky in a way. I started seeing the cards I needed. He wasn't seeing the cards he needed. He didn't catch any of his explosive dances, so he wasn't able to keep me on bay too much. You typically don't end up Z charging a whole lot with this deck. You do, but typically not early right away. You kind of want to establish your hand and see what you can kind of trade off. Once you kind of get to 4 health, super combos are easy Z charges, and then maybe some Gohans once you have some Gohans established to bounce back and forth. But I saw the cards I needed, so that was definitely a match I was concerned about. It was very aggressive. It gave me a lot of trouble. And Cell Reboot gave me a very hard time. That was a very hard matchup. I was lucky that I saw my trusted allies against both the Solidarities, or else my hand would have just been overall down 2 cards. Cell Reboot's hard to play around. It KOs a lot of your board. Though one thing you don't want to see when you're playing against is your board being controlled. Your board's supposed to control your opponent. Once your board's being controlled and eliminated, even though you have a lot of free plays, it's kind of decent to build back up. It really hurts your ability to control your opponent, and Cell Reboot's really good at doing that. So I would say those are definitely my most challenging matchups.
Awesome. Yeah, no, definitely straight through, very clear with how the deck runs, and you seem very confident with it. Before we close out, do you want to shout out anything or just say anything, any closing remarks?
Um, Great players that I played against in the event. I was so happy to see so many out of all the Carta Magica events that were taking place there. So many Game 3 players doing very well. Game 3 just breeds good players as a whole. I was only able to succeed because I was playing great players consistently. So definitely a shout out to Game 3 and the players that it produces. Shout out to Barrier for getting me into the game and helping me be number 2 in this event.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thanks for showing off the deck profile and congrats on the second again.
Thanks. I appreciate you having me there, Rosas.